Hey, folks, it's Steve Wilmes and Matt Kita, and we're here with another episode of the Risk Control Show. Today, we're talking about refitting your respirator, right? So you go through the whole process. You get a respirator, you shave, and then you go out and you do your seal checks and all that and training, and then you get fit tested, and you pass your fit test, right? Matt, this is typical. And then what?
Yes.
Then what happens? Everyone's like, at the end, we say, okay, yes, you passed. Now, in the event that any of these things occur, come back and do this wonderful process again.
My concern always has been is that goes over their head, Steve. Like
Yeah.
they go like, you know what? Oh yeah, hey, I was told we got to do this fit testing here, so I'm here. I'm going to get this done. I get it done, and then they're hoping to not deal with it for another year, and they don't understand that there are situations that could arise that will basically loosen the fit that they've just gone through and require them to go through testing again.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, that's very true. And so I'll put this up here right now. I have a list here, Matt. Refit if you lose a lot of weight, if you have facial damage. So if you're one of those roughneck guys that goes out to the bar and gets in a little bit of fights here and there, that kind of stuff. Or if you're like me and you go to Krav and you lose a tooth or whatever it may be. If you have any major dental work, right? So a cleaning is not going to do it. But hey, if you pull a tooth, if you got a crown, any of those types of things. Hey, if you, I put on a lot of weight, lose a lot of weight, either one of those. And then annually, of course. But I think it's important to really understand that the whole process of the fit testing is for your protection and your protection alone.
Yes.
And, I was just out doing some chlorine gas testing with our our CIH. And we were going over this whole process, basically for a wastewater treatment facility, and they're using chlorine gas, and OSHA had come out, so be it. And one of the concerns that OSHA had was whether or not the people had been fit tested for the respirators, if they had emergency evacuation respirators, their SCBAs, and again, like there's a lot of factors that go into that. But the bottom line is that when we were talking about the respirators, because they just got some new Scott respirators, and they got these nice Pelican cases to keep them in, those waterproof, those black Pelican cases.
Right. Yeah.
And they're beautiful. Yeah. And, we talked about this respirator that we love that one of the local police departments is using, and that's that Avon C50. And, these guys are throwing them. So for the PD, they're throwing them in the back of their cruiser.
It's just anywhere you can put them.
Right.
Yeah.
The gear bags on top of them, the seals are all crunched in. But as soon as they take it out of the bag, it just it's got memory and just
right back
to where it was. So I pull out their Pelican case, Matt, and I took a look at the seal, and they didn't really pull out enough of the foam, so it kind of got crunched in this box.
Right.
And the whole side of that Scott respirator was collapsed in.
Oh.
Yeah, and kind of molded now down. And I'm like,
right.
Like we really need to refit now. And number two, they're asking, hey, when do I do these refit? And they just got these things, and it's like,
right,
man. So anyway, if you're going through this, like you want to number one, you want to take care of your respirator. You want to make sure it's got plenty of room, and you want to make sure it's clean. But if you have any of these types of issues, you have to refit your respirator because it's all about your safety. If it doesn't fit and you have something like chlorine gas and you get exposed to it, you may die, right? And we were just doing that confined space entry too, and we saw we always tell them like your gas meter, right? Your gas meter, you got to take measurements at the top. Every 20% is
Right.
what I do. I split it up. But, continuous monitoring. We saw at the top, the methane, very, very low. Down bottom, it was like, pew! Just spiked right up. And it's like, okay, so, if you're in there and you don't realize it and you have some highly toxic gas that is toxic and immediately dangerous to your life and health at a very low ppm, then this little leak over here because you had a change in your facial structure means that you could die.
Yeah.
And people, I think, that 8 minutes, 15 minutes, 8 minutes of actual test and 15 minutes to do a test, like that's important. It's really important.
Yeah, it really is. It's about taking that responsibility. We've talked about this before, the fault versus responsibility that we put in all of our trainings. Yes, you can look at it as a bother, right? It's a bother that I got to do this. I have important things I got to do, and now I got to go get this spit testing. I understand that thinking. But the one who's going to suffer if this doesn't work is you. And when I say suffer, I'm not saying you wake up with a headache one day.
Right.
Although that could happen too. This is life or death. Like you said, chlorine gas, that's no joke. You get exposed to chlorine gas, that's going to quickly go south for you. So you have to take that responsibility of, if you understand that there's something that's going on with your facial structure, whether it's dental surgery or, again, you're an active participant in your CROV class or whatever the deal is, if maybe you've lost a lot of weight, congratulations.
Yeah.
You still need to have the responsibility and understand how that's going to affect your mask and the fit, and know that if you don't get it addressed and there's a problem, your life is on the line.
Right. Absolutely. 100%. That's the bottom line, folks. It's your life. And it's worth 15 minutes. You can do it. It's easy. It's worth 15 minutes. Do it.
And don't push off the annual either. I'll tell you, Steve, I look at a picture of myself from a year or two ago, and I don't see that much difference. But then I start to look at pictures from 10 years ago, and wow, you know what, Matt? You looked a lot younger back then. These little changes that become obvious like that, they're happening year after year. That's why it's important to get this done annually, because your face is changing, even if you don't see it.
It's the frog in the pot of water.
Yes.
You don't realize it because you're sitting there getting fat and happy.
Exactly.
And if you haven't tested after COVID, well, that you got big problems, man.
Right.
You gotta get in there and get tested. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, don't forget to check us out on Dollar Training Club and Udemy. And if you have any questions, feel free to send them all to Matt. I'm tired of answering all these questions.
Well, there we go. Email is right open.
Yeah, send them to Matt. Now, you can leave them in the comments and we'll get back to you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.